Claudia Harris and Lori Domer joining us tonight from Creekside at Three Rivers. We're talking about assisted living and memory care. And ladies, we've gotten to talk about a lot tonight. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having us.
We're happy to have you. We actually, before we went to break, we were just talking briefly about, the physician that is available. You said 2 times per week, is that right?
We have a nurse practitioner that comes twice a week, and like as I mentioned earlier, acts as the primary care physician for probably 85–90% of our residents. In addition to the nurse practitioner or the primary care physician, we also have a Jerry Psych nurse practitioner who comes twice a week, and she provides service to anyone. Sometimes people have transitioned, they've lost a spouse, and so they're going through depression or just the change, that transition of leaving where they've been for a long time. But primarily, the biggest number of residents that she sees are our memory care or memory support, our residents that are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's and that type of thing, because there is an element of that she can help with.
Right.
Medications that can help when they're needed, or just talking through things when they're needed. What's really nice is that we have of course we have a director of care who's our head nurse, if you will. So the 3 of them communicate with each other, and the left hand always knows what the right hand's doing, because they're one team.
That phrase usually goes the opposite direction.
Right.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
And then we have a podiatrist that comes. So we try to take care of all of those, all of those needs.
You're really hitting base on every absolute need of your residents.
They do exercise every morning, and no matter where you are on the campus.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about that next too. Just the activities that you all do to just assist with the mental and physical health of your residents. Let's go ahead and kind of talk about that as well.
Well, they do exercise every morning.
To music.
To lively music. Yeah. And if for some reason the activity director is not there and able to do it, we've got a couple of residents that step right up and exercise goes on. Now, I like that because after exercise, there's always muffins in our bistro. So your reward for doing exercise is you get to go have a muffin.
Tell you what,
all the calories removed.
That's enough reward. Right? That's enough reward to get anyone moving, I think.
And then, we try to meet the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual needs. We have several churches that come in and provide either prayer groups, Bible studies, old hymn singings, and that type of thing. So we try to be able to reach every need that a person has on every level. And
in your opinions, a question for both of you, why is that important to do that, to make sure that you are hitting all of those bases in that type in care?
Got to have that holistic approach. You got to treat the whole body, because if one of them suffers, they all do.
And do you see a difference when maybe a person doesn't receive one or the other? Do you see a difference?
Well, depends, I guess, on the person, but we are made up of all those things. So each part needs to be fed, nourished, and so yeah, you do, because I think sometimes you see depression can be common, a common thing that happens if these folks all get very close to each other, and so they share their problems, they share their stories. If someone passes, or if someone moves because they've moved to another state or something, it affects that whole little group. I'm very proud, I've always been very proud of the fact that when people come into Creekside, they talk about how it feels, okay? And our residents are awesome. They want everybody to feel like they're part of that family unit. And it really does feel like a family unit. So when something happens, no matter what it is, that affects you, it affects me and Lori, and so all of the residents, kind of come on board and are touched by that. So I think from that standpoint, it becomes very important that you have the resources there to help them through, whether it's an emotional support group, or whether it's talking to the psychologist, or whether, sometimes people get physically ill. So I think when one piece is missing, that it does affect the whole person.
Well said. It's community.
And we have a great group of residents. I mean, they are very close. I mean, they're very warm, they're very inviting, they encourage each other, they knock on doors. Heaven forbid your table mate is not there at breakfast. I'm the first door that they hit, and it's, you know, all hands on deck to go see why they weren't there. And that's beautiful, because, you know, we might not really, out of all the residents, we might not notice one person missing, but those residents that sit at that table every day, they do.
They do.
Yeah.
If our guy's not there to lead exercise, if our staff is not there, it's a total breakdown. Where is he? How is he? What's going on? What can we do? And when you get that from residents, I mean, that's family.
It really reiterates how really unique Creekside at Three Rivers is. And our first time I met with you folks and we talked, I, you know, really learned some things. And of course, just visiting the website, lots of just different aspects that you all bring to the table that you just might not find at other assisted living facilities. And we talked about, you know, ways to lift spirits and even touching base on, you know, dealing with depression and other aspects. Best way of dealing with depression or way to lift a spirit, involve an animal. Just bring an animal in, and you all do that. We have to talk about that. How you're incorporating animals at Creekside.
Well, at Creekside, you're allowed to have your own pet.
That is wonderful.
In our assisted living. That can be your cat, your dog, small animals. If you have a little bit larger animal, talk to us. We'll work through it. The pets are very important. They're very spoiled in our community. We fight to see who can walk the animal if they don't want to walk the pet. We've had pets in commercials. And pets bring joy to everyone. And if you're not allowed to have your pet, if your family kept your pet at home, you can share the community's pets, because Pooch, you know, they've got a little pet, and that little pet's been in our commercials, and it's very spoiled. We've got cats in our building, and for those folks that in the memory care, theirs can come and visit, but they just can't live with them. But we have therapy animals that come. The greyhounds come, and the Great Pyrenees, they come on the weekends and visit, and that just cheers everyone up. I mean, you can't compete with it, kids or pets.
Amen.
You can't compete with kids or pets.
And we have both.
We have both. When did you all kind of get the idea, hey, we need to incorporate this out here?
Since the doors opened, and I think we were really unique when that concept first started. So we've always allowed pets in our building, and we get attached to them just like everybody.
What's you know, one of the main things that you're seeing a difference when you do have an animal come visit, or, you know, a group of children? What are some of the things that you all just notice in the residents?
Oh, life. I mean, they just blossom. I mean, they just light up. I mean, like I said, you can't compete with kids or pets. You have folks who may not come out as often as others, but when there's kids and pets, they're always going to be. They're always going to come out. I mean, it reminds them of home, their grandkids, their great-grandchildren.
And we have for folks that maybe can't come out of their apartment for whatever reason, when the dogs visit, we actually we go to those folks that might be in their apartment, maybe, you know, somebody's come back from rehab, or
under the weather.
They don't just come, right. So the dogs will go and visit with those people. We have a couple of like daycares that we partner with, sort of, that come over on a regular basis. And like at Halloween, for instance, we'll do one night where staff and families, grandkids can come, and we'll provide all the residents we'll buy the candy, and everybody gets their little pumpkin, and they sit out and pass out the candy. And you know, when kids come in, I mean, who wouldn't light up with a 2 or 3 year old that comes through dressed like Tinkerbell, or you know, or Ninja Turtle, or different things. And so then we usually have like a little party with cookies and juice, and but it makes a huge difference.
Oh, for
impact. It's a huge impact.
And they talk about it for days.
Days and days. Well, speaking of cookies and food, you're hitting on our next subject we were going to talk about, which is another source of happiness: food, kids, and animals. Let's talk about food now. You all, I think it's always kind of a misconception that assisted living, the food, and some of the best food I think you all is at assisted living. You know, I've been just visiting several places, and that you all really, I mean, pull out all the stops. There's a full menu, and I don't think folks know to expect that. Right. So let them know that, yeah, the food there is also incredible.
Yes, and they have choices. For example, if they don't want Salisbury steak for lunch, there's an a la carte menu that they can order: hamburgers, hot dogs, fruit, filet, shrimp. I mean, you name it, it's on the menu, and they can order that. And they know we're very lucky because the day before is when they order their food, their menu. They get the menu the night before for all their meals. So they already know if they don't like lunch tomorrow, you know, and they can. And we have one guy, really cute story. He said, "Oh, I just really love it here." And I said, "That's so good. I'm so happy to hear that." He said, "Well, there's just one thing that bothers me." And I was like, "Thought we loved it. Okay, now what's the problem?" And he was like, "There's fish on the menu." And I was like, "We don't like fish?" And he said, "Oh no," he said, "I love fish, but it just says fish." He said, "I'm very particular about the fish." And I said, "I can fix this." So I went and got our chef, brought the chef out. They talked it out. He knows exactly when there's going to be, I don't know, catfish and all these different varieties. So he knows exactly when he likes the fish. So I was like, problem solved. So we're just very accommodating.
And you know, what is the importance of letting your residents kind of have the option of customizing their menu?
It's huge. You know, I've said to people often that this is a very difficult decision when someone moves from home or to assisted living. The residents, initially, most of them, feel like they are giving up so much. You know, they're losing independence. When in reality, our goal is to give you more independence by being here just to support the areas where you need help. But, you know, the two things where they do have control is activities and meals. So those are very important because, again, those are the two things that they have a choice. They are in total control of those two things. And so I've had people say, well, why do they get upset if the potato's too done? Why is that such a big deal? Because that's, you know, I mean, you don't want your potato not cooked, but the point is really, it's not about the potato. It's about being able to feel like you still have some control over your life. Our chef is great to come out and talk with folks and, you know, find out what they like. He's actually from New York, so it was a real trial and error to teach him how to cook Southern cornbread.
That's right.
So everybody had Grandma's recipe that they took to him until we finally got it right. He does have it right, but he makes mean lasagna.
Well, definitely making it home at Creekside. We will be right back after this quick break. Keep it here.